Donate money, donate blood, or volunteer. For more information, contact your local American Red Cross chapter or visit our website at redcross.org. Together, we can save a life.
Turn right here. Excuse me. Do you know where the art museum is?
It's 2 blocks up.
Thank you.
You're into art?
Oh yeah. Sculpture, mostly. I mean, I like paintings too, but...
We will see you back here at 6.
Right now, here's Nightly News.
More anthrax tonight. 6 cases now confirmed. A new scare, this time at CBS and at a post office at the heart of the investigation. Tonight, the search for suspects and answers. Also, from the NBC Terrorism Task Force, a reality check. What you should know about anthrax. An NBC News exclusive. My live conversation with a senator targeted in one of the attacks. Tom Daschle, the majority leader. And new information from the Capitol. The war. Relentless airstrikes in Afghanistan taking out terrorist leaders. What happens after the bombing? And first response. An inside look at fighting terror attacks on the front lines.
From NBC News World Headquarters in New York, this is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw.
Good evening. The stain of anthrax infection is spreading tonight, but it now remains confined to 3 states in Washington, D.C., Florida, New York, and New Jersey. A number of people have contracted the disease. That includes some new cases, a CBS News assistant to Dan Rather and a postal worker in New Jersey, where the letters were mailed. The U.S. government today tried to calm anxieties in Washington and around the country by rolling out a stage full of senior officials and also offering a $1 million reward. At the same time, the war against Osama bin Laden does appear to be getting closer to him. We're going to begin tonight, however, on the anthrax front and the investigation. NBC's Pete Williams at the Justice Department. Pete.
Tom, good evening. These latest cases are the skin form of anthrax, the type that doctors say responds to ordinary antibiotics, and the victims seem to be doing well. One of them at CBS News in New York, a woman who works for Dan Rather. No anthrax letter found, but because her job involves opening the mail, that's how officials assume she got it. Rather warned against letting fear take over.
We are resolute. We will not flinch. We will not bend. We will not swerve.
In New Jersey, 2 postal workers who likely handled the letters sent to NBC and the U.S. Senate may have it. One case confirmed so far.
Both have been under the care of a personal physician for a number of weeks and have been taking antibiotics to combat the infection. Both are doing well.
No new cases found today in Washington. Congressional office buildings were closed so health workers could look for any further sign of anthrax, but none found so far. And at NBC in New York, a few isolated spots of anthrax spores were found, left behind by the earlier letter, but officials say they pose no health risk. To enlist public help in the investigation, the U.S. government is now offering a $1 million reward for help in finding who's sending anthrax through the mail.
We know there is someone out there who saw something or knows something about the letters.
Postal inspectors are also tracing where the Senate and NBC letters came from by tracing the orange barcodes imprinted on the back of envelopes when they run through post office sorting machines.
That tells us what time that article of mail was processed, what machine processed it, and on what day it was processed.
By checking that time against the times when mail from each local post office is dropped off for sorting, investigators are narrowing down what areas around Trenton the letters came from. The Centers for Disease Control today says the type of anthrax in the letter to the Senate was no more virulent or harmful than the anthrax mailed to NBC or the newspaper offices in Florida. And a senior official tells NBC News that investigators believe the short letters, less than 24 words, aren't typical international terrorist manifestos, suggesting the letters could be the work of homegrown terrorists. And investigators are now checking up on the nation's scientific community, looking for anyone with the talent and equipment to formulate relatively pure anthrax and a motive for using it. Tom?
NBC's Pete Williams tonight. Thanks very much. The nation's capital was the scene of anxiety, confusion, And anger for a second straight day. It was effectively closed down on Capitol Hill as a result of the anthrax letter that arrived in the offices of Senate Majority Leader Tom Daschle, Democrat of South Dakota. A letter remarkably similar to the letter that arrived here at NBC News. Senator Daschle joins me now from Washington. Senator, there's a good deal of confusion about one point tonight. We are hearing from two very reliable sources that there are anthrax hotspots in the Capitol building itself. Is that true?
Well, Tom, not to my knowledge. I think that all of this is still under investigation, and I think it's premature to come to any conclusion. We've been looking at all the different reports, and at this point, none of them have been verified.
And the staff members who tested for exposure to anthrax from your office were all in the Senate Hart building?
That's correct. Every one of them were in the Senate Hart building, and to our knowledge, there is no evidence that anybody who was not in the Hart building has received a positive result.
So far as you know, the Capitol building itself could be reopened on Tuesday?
Absolutely. Our intention is to reopen it on Tuesday and to be at work on Monday. We'll be in session, of course, on Tuesday, but our expectation is that all the offices in the Capitol itself will be open on Monday. The Hart building is one that we'll have to continue to look at. We're still trying to determine the degree of contamination, and when that determination is made, we'll open that one too.
Can you give us a progress report on that? Are they finding a fair amount of contamination in your office?
Well, there has been some additional contamination found, but by and large, it has been contained to the office and the mailroom. There are no other locations to which we now for which we are now concerned. Obviously, this is going to be an ongoing process. We're going to be looking very meticulously at all the space and all the buildings. But right now, I'd say the report has been quite good. We're confident that if it's there, we'll find it. We haven't found it yet.
Senator, hindsight is always 20/20, but after the NBC News exposure and all the contradictions and the maze, the nightmare that my assistant was put through, shouldn't there have been better procedures in place in the nation's capital for both discovering it and then reporting it effectively and factually?
Well, Tom, we actually did have procedures in place. This was a process that we had just started as a result of the NBC experience. We had anthrax detectors that detected the outside. We had procedures that we recommended to offices. But keep in mind, we're talking here a matter of days between the incident at NBC and the incident in the Senate. So it takes a while when you're talking about 100 senators and 435 members of the House. And that process, as I say, while it was underway, was far from perfect.
We're going to share now with our audience the two letters that were received by you and by me here at NBC News. And as you and I have discussed, the printing is remarkably similar, and so are the messages that are contained therein. Penicillin is misspelled in the message that was sent here to NBC News. Allah is great, death to America. You cannot stop us. We have this anthrax. You die now. What is your own conclusion about where these letters came from?
I wish I could conclude something. I guess I'm trying to avoid coming to any conclusions at this point because I want to give the full benefit to the investigation as it's being conducted. As your report noted, this could be homegrown. There isn't any reason to believe this has to be some foreign source. Obviously, you'd like to come to that conclusion quickly, and it makes things a lot simpler. But I think we have to wait for all the results and all the investigating, and I'm prepared to accept whatever the investigation may show.
And Congress should be back in session next week, both houses, the House and the Senate.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you very much, Senate Majority Leader Tom Daschle, who joins us tonight from the nation's capital.
My pleasure.
As for Attorney General John Ashcroft, he spoke to NBC's Brian Williams today about the need to keep some perspective on all of this.
Well, first of all, remember that the mail is okay. 200 million people, 250 million people opened their mail last week and nobody died. 250 million people rode in automobiles last week and a whole bunch of them died. Now, people aren't afraid to get in their cars because that's a risk to which they are accustomed and that they live with.
There will be more of Brian Williams' interview with the Attorney General tonight at 8 Eastern on MSNBC. The best weapon, of course, in this war on fear, facts. There has been a lot of confusion over the past 2 weeks about anthrax. So tonight we have asked our chief science correspondent, Robert Bazell, to answer some of the most commonly asked questions about it.
What does anthrax look like? A brown or white powdery substance like this simulated material used for civil defense drills. What has to happen for someone to get the disease? Spores, particles from the powder so tiny they are almost invisible, have to pass into the lungs or through a cut in the skin. You cannot get anthrax from touching the spores. How long can spores stay in the air? If an envelope is open, they stay in the air for a few hours at most. That's the most dangerous time. Then they settle down and don't rise again. How long do spores stay on surfaces? They can remain for months if not cleaned up with Lysol, bleach, or some other disinfectant. But it is unlikely a person could track a dangerous amount on shoes or clothing from room to room. Health officials often take nasal swabs. What do they mean? It is just one tool that can give misleading results. A positive test means a person breathed in a few spores and could be at risk. But a negative test does not mean the person did not get some kind of skin exposure. What are the different kinds of anthrax disease? Skin or cutaneous, and the more dangerous inhalation form if the spores get into the lungs. What are the symptoms of skin infection? It begins like a large insect bite and swells. Eventually a black scab forms in the middle. Headache and fever can follow. What are the symptoms of lung infection? It begins with a mild cough for 2 or 3 days, and then suddenly great difficulty breathing and massive organ failure. Those symptoms sound like many other conditions. How do I know it is anthrax? There's little reason to suspect you've been exposed unless there's been a specific incident where you live or work. That's why public health officials have to be on the alert for a possible attack. How long is the time from exposure to infection? Usually 1 to 6 days. Is anthrax contagious? No. You cannot get it from someone else, and you cannot give it to someone else if you have it. Can I get anthrax from water or food? Only rarely if people eat meat from anthrax-infected animals do they get sick. Otherwise, food and water are not threats. Is anthrax curable? Yes. Antibiotics in the first few days of lung infection or the first few weeks of skin infection will cure it. We've heard a lot about Cipro, but many common antibiotics such as penicillin and tetracycline work just as well.
NBC Chief Science Correspondent Robert Bazell tonight with many questions and the answers to them about anthrax. On the military front tonight, the United States now appears to be getting closer to its prime target, Osama bin Laden. So what happens next? NBC Jim Miklaszewski once again at the Pentagon. Jim?
Tom, the U.S. military appears to be closing in on some of the top leaders of bin Laden's al-Qaeda organization and tightening the noose on the Taliban. As U.S. airstrikes deliver blow after devastating blow, Pentagon officials admit today they're now out to cut off the head of the Taliban military and Osama bin Laden's al-Qaeda terrorist network.
There have been some al-Qaeda personnel, no doubt, caught up in some of those raids.
The Pentagon says as many as 20 military and terrorist leaders may have been killed so far. Conflicting statements today indicate one of bin Laden's top lieutenants was killed in one airstrike. And sources tell NBC News an American warplane bombed the car of the deputy chief of staff of the Taliban military. But Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld says he can't confirm that those targeted were actually killed.
Do I know it of certain knowledge? No, I've not been on the ground. But if it would be a good thing for the world.
And as sophisticated and accurate as U.S. precision weapons may be, Rumsfeld knows they cannot finish the job in Afghanistan to hunt down Osama bin Laden.
They can't crawl around on the ground and find people.
That will take ground troops, U.S. Special Forces with attack helicopters, and all signs indicate that may be near. U.S. military C-17s, loaded with combat gear and helicopters, are now flying in and out of neighboring Uzbekistan on a regular schedule. And Army Special Forces commandos and choppers aboard the carrier Kitty Hawk are suited up and ready to go. The order may come as soon as Afghan rebels of the Northern Alliance seize the strategic Taliban stronghold Mazar-e-Sharif in the north. The rebels suffered a setback today, but more U.S. help is on the way. Secretary Rumsfeld said the U.S. is preparing to send the rebels food, air cover, arms, and ammunition. As for U.S. Special Forces, they could now be on the ground in Afghanistan at almost any time. Tom?
NBC's Jim Miklaszewski at the Pentagon tonight. Still ahead tonight, President Bush in China. Can he enlist their help in the war on terrorism?
Dogs love home cooking or new pedigree little champions. gently prepared, then sealed in our revolutionary flavor lock pouch. For the home-cooked taste dogs love.
Yeah. What are you doing there? I'll be right there.
C. Move. Beat. The future of vitamin C is here. Ester C, a patented non-acidic vitamin C that supports your immune system and the health of your eyes, joints, and cardiovascular system. Don't settle for less. Ester C, your body will know the difference.
Tired of struggling down glass after glass of powdered fiber for regularity? Consider refreshing glasses of water with FiberCon tablets. A whole lot easier to take.
And every bit as effective as powder.
FiberCon, refreshingly easier to take.
See who will be the first man to put his name on the Charles Schwab Cup, only on CNBC.
After 26 years of marriage, Tom and I realized that we're a little different from each other, except for one thing. Our doctor says we should both take a single 81 milligram St. Joseph aspirin, the dosage doctors recommend most for aspirin therapy.
If you have a little difficulty bathing or care for someone who does, take comfort.
Take comfort, take comfort. There's comfort bath, take comfort.
Comfort Bath. Thick as a washcloth, disposable Comfort Bath can be microwaved for a warm, soothing bath. And Comfort Bath won't dry out skin like soap.
There's comfort bath, take comfort.
Look for Comfort Bath at your drugstore.
Friday, this Pennsylvania man now deals with the stress of terror, while overseas his sister copes with it every day. What can you learn from her? Dateline Friday on NBC.
In a New York City federal courtroom today, sentencing for 4 men, members of Osama bin Laden's network, convicted in the 1998 bombings of 2 U.S. embassies in Africa, where 224 people were killed. NBC's Dan Abrams joins me now from Lower Manhattan. Dan?
Well, Tom, the terrorists were sentenced here at the Manhattan Federal Courthouse, only about a half-mile away from the World Trade Center. The attacks similar in many ways. Multiple American targets hit almost simultaneously. And those responsible? Followers of Osama bin Laden. Outside, marshals with machine guns, bomb-sniffing dogs. The tightest security ever at an already fortified courthouse. Inside, 4 men sentenced to life without parole for the 1998 bombings of the U.S. embassies in Kenya and Tanzania.
Al-Qaeda stands charged, tried, convicted, and sentenced for terrorism.
Bin Laden's personal secretary, 41-year-old Wadi al-Hajj, a naturalized U.S. citizen and father of 7, claimed today he never helped plan any attacks on civilians.
As a devout Muslim, since that is his belief, he believes that the conduct in 1998 and last month is wrong.
36-year-old Palestinian Mohammed O'Day argued for a lesser sentence despite this admission.
He does assert that he's a member of Al-Qaeda and remains committed to Al-Qaeda.
The legal argument? That U.S. foreign policy provoked him. In May, a jury spared 2 others the death penalty. Khalfan Mohammed, a 28-year-old Tanzanian, and Mohammed Al-Awali, a 24-year-old Saudi national. A decision many victims supported.
I don't see how there could have been any other outcome. I think if we had imposed the death sentence, these guys simply would have gotten what they wanted, and that is to be martyrs. So I hope that they suffer greatly in our penitentiary system.
The judge also ordered them to pay $33 million in restitution. $7 million to the victims, $26 million to the government. Money that could come from frozen assets connected to bin Laden. Federal officials say there's no question that this case is connected to the September 11th attacks. The hijackers even called a phone number in Yemen used by the embassy bombers as a sort of terrorist switchboard. Tom?
Thanks very much, NBC's Dan Abrams tonight. Next, the vice president goes to ground zero.
Ocean Spray is fortified with as much vitamin C as orange juice, so it's good for your whole body. Just leave the juicing to us. Ocean Spray. Crave the wave.
The long jump.
The Dash. Life is like a sport, and your feet take the impact hard. But new Stride Guard insoles absorb 50% more heel impact than these Dr. Scholl's. Take more impact in stride. New Stride Guard insoles.
You strive for perfection in the kitchen. Wield highly precise instruments. Test things 500,000 times. Work with tolerances of less than 1,000th of an inch. You could be making a Delta faucet. Precisely crafted and relentlessly refined, Delta faucets achieve perfection in the kitchen. Even if you can't. Delta, beautifully engineered.
When I started having hot flashes and night sweats at menopause, my doctor recommended hormone replacement therapy, but I didn't listen.
Up to 20% of a woman's expected lifetime bone loss occurs in the years following menopause.
A year later, I went back to my doctor and found I'd shrunk an inch. I went on HRT, and I've been on it for years. My hot flashes and night sweats, gone. I feel great.
HRT is not for all women. Talk to your doctor about the benefits and risks.
The time to protect your future is now.
Abner, we're rich.
We're rich?
It's our new litter. It's got diamonds in it.
You are mistaken, my friends. The diamonds are odor-absorbing crystals in new Tidy Cats Crystals Blend.
Whatever.
New Tidy Cats Crystals Blend.
Want to try that triple Lux?
What the heck? I got supplemental insurance.
What's that?
A Lutz?
No, that something insurance.
Even the best insurance doesn't give you cash for things like lost pay and other expenses. This does.
What does?
Aflac. Ask about it at work.
Vice President Richard Cheney, who has not been seen much since the attacks of September 11th, and for good reason. He's been separated from the president for security reasons, but he surfaced in New York today to get a first-hand look at the World Trade Center site, accompanied by Mayor Giuliani and Governor Pataki of New York. He greeted some firefighters and construction workers on the scene. Meanwhile, President Bush is in China, where it's already Friday morning. He's at a summit that is supposed to be about the economy, but the agenda has shifted to international terrorism. NBC's David Gregory is with the president in Shanghai and joins me now. David.
Tom, before leaving Washington, the president acknowledged this is a very difficult time to be away from the United States, but officials say he also believes this is an important time to do some coalition building, especially since there are several Asian nations with large Muslim populations who do not support United States military action. The president arrived in Shanghai for what was to be a visit that was going to be a lot broader tour of Asia before it was cut short after the September 11th attacks. Security here very tight. Airspace over the city has been restricted. 10,000 police officers now patrol a city that is locked down. It is, of course, Friday morning here already. Later today, the president has his first face-to-face meeting with Chinese President Jiang Zemin, both in the mood to improve their relationship since the Chinese spy plane incident earlier this year. The Chinese have promised to provide the United States with counterterrorism intelligence, vital assistance. But officials say that during his meeting today, the president will also make clear to his Chinese counterpart that on human rights, the president will not support the quashing of legitimate dissent within China or elsewhere within the world in the name of counterterrorism. Tom?
And what about his expectations for a meeting with President Putin of Russia, David?
Well, officials say they expect it to be warm and cooperative, but there are still some tough issues there. Missile defense, the scrapping of the anti-ballistic missile treaty. The president has said, though, he's going to make a very strong pitch to President Putin, saying that, look, what time but now, after the September 11th attacks, do both countries need a way to intercept weapons of mass destruction that could fall into the hands of the likes of Osama bin Laden?
Thanks very much. NBC's David Gregory in Shanghai with the president tonight. On Wall Street today, another nervous day ended mixed. The Dow was down almost 70 points. NASDAQ managed a modest gain today, a little more than 6 points on this trading day. Coming up in a moment, an NBC News exclusive will take you inside the training camp of America's first responders to terror.
Alert! You have reached the end of the internet. You have seen everything there is to see. Please go back. Now.
Introducing DirecTV DSL. So fast, you'll see more of the internet than ever before. Now get 3 months for $19.99 per month. Call 1-800-BEST-DSL.
I thought you were surfing the internet.
Yeah, I finished it.
Now, the same Caltrate that helps fight bone loss may help your colon, too. In a recent study, Caltrate helped reduce the risk of recurrence of colon polyps, a risk factor for colon cancer. The same Caltrate you take for your bones, now for colon health, too.
I like to come here early in the morning.
Tylenol PM stops nighttime pain and helps you sleep so you can wake up refreshed.
If I don't have a good morning, I don't hold out much hope for the rest of the day.
Take comfort. It's Tylenol PM.
Is 106 cubic feet of interior space really necessary? As a matter of fact, it is. Avalon, the most spacious sedan we've ever created.
The heightened fear of terrorism will change the Olympic experience for athletes, fans, and the host city. New at 6, are ticket sales feeling the pinch? With less than 4 months to the opening ceremonies, we'll check on security concerns and a live report from Salt Lake. Tonight at 6 on News Channel 8, where the news comes first.
Buying or selling a home can mean the weight of the world on your shoulders. A RE/MAX agent can lighten that load. Averaging more than 13 years experience, RE/MAX agents have the knowledge and expertise to free you of paperwork and do everything in their power to make hassles disappear. Our agents work the kind of practical magic that lets you take your life to the next level. When you're ready to buy or sell, call RE/MAX.
It's the Founders Day sale at Emporium. Come in now and save 30 to 50% on famous brand fashions for your whole family. Our lowest prices of the season. Save 40 to 50% on men's Nordic fleece jackets and vests. Women's outerwear from London Fog and Cambridge gets 30% off. Save 40 to 50% on selected sweaters for women and children. Don't miss the 46th Founders Day celebration and the lowest prices of the season. Only at Emporium, where shopping never felt better.
A security scare today, later determined to be a hoax at the 3 Mile Island power plant, the nuclear plant, and it sent jitters to the nuclear power industry and elsewhere, driving home the urgent need to update preparedness across America. What to do if terrorism strikes? Police officers and firefighters are finding themselves on the front line of this new war. NBC George Lewis tonight with an NBC News exclusive deep in the Nevada desert preparing for war.
A simulated terrorist bomb at a nuclear facility.
Command, I have a man down. I repeat, I have a
Police taking part in this exercise have to nab the terrorists.
Okay, we got one terrorist.
And rescue a group of hostages. While firefighters and hazardous materials workers worry about a plume of deadly radioactive smoke and waste spewing from the plant. Since 1999, 1,200 police officers, firefighters, and other emergency personnel have gone through realistic counter-terror training at the government's Nevada test site. This facility occupies 1,375 square miles of the Nevada desert, an area bigger than the state of Rhode Island. Once used for atomic bomb testing, this relic of the Cold War is now being employed in the war against terrorism.
Execute.
Running this exercise, Instructor Kurt Wargo, a former New York police captain who has friends missing in the rubble of the World Trade Center. He says with America under attack, these drills take on a whole new importance.
Absolutely. The weapons of mass destruction field has been moving forward very rapidly, but obviously in the last month it's accelerated a tremendous amount.
Another instructor, Dr. Igor Shafid, a Russian who once treated victims of the Chernobyl nuclear disaster. He says this country needs to be ready for attacks involving nuclear, biological, or chemical weapons.
Now I don't think we can be surprised of anything.
So we need to be prepared for any kind of
Yes, I do
emergency.
believe any type of weapons of mass destruction.
The Nevada test site has it all. We could train first responders there. We could do all the special operations folks do their training.
Special operations forces might use the test site's network of tunnels, some 50 miles of them, to practice going after terrorists hiding out in caves.
Right behind me.
One proposal now on the table: expand the programs here and create a national center for combating terrorism. George Lewis, NBC News, Mercury, Nevada.
That's Nightly News for this Thursday night. I'm Tom Brokaw. I'll see you again tomorrow night.
The gavel brings the U.S. Senate to order, but not the House. Crime tape surrounds office buildings after the anthrax scare empties them. And a PDX, a change that may help the airport keep the workers who screen passengers. It is our special report, How Safe is PDX? And in Salt Lake City, preparations for the Winter Games. That includes drum-tight security. But do athletes feel safe? A live report next.
From KGW, where the news comes first, this is a Northwest News Channel 8 at 6, Special Edition. America Strikes Back.